In the UFC, it's definitely getting really hard to get your name out, especially with all the legends out there occupying the Octagon. As fans, we often pay attention mostly to either the top 3 fighters in the division or some new fighter who is dominating in their fights like Khamzat Chimaev or Paddy Pimblett. But there are some names that you just can't forget, even though they don't fall in any of these categories. And of course today, we'll be discussing one such fighter. Hello and welcome back to SBTB, where today we'll be going over the fighter nicknamed after one of the most motivational songs in existence, Fort Minor, remember the name. We're of course talking about Belal, remember the name Muhammad. We'll be going over the Rise of Belal, how he got to the number 5 spot, and why exactly you should be paying more attention to him. Before we continue, if you like these kinds of videos and would like to be updated about the latest news, fights, and fighters in the world of MMA, make sure to subscribe to our channel. On Saved by the Bell, we release new videos regularly, and we always have something for every fight fan out there. So subscribe in order to be notified when we have something for you coming up. With that said, let's see exactly why we should remember the name. 3, 2, 1. Who is Belal Muhammad? Belal Muhammad is currently number 5 in the UFC's welterweight division. He is from Chicago, Illinois in the US and currently is 33 years old. Muhammad has been a professional martial artist all the way back since 2012 and is sort of a hybrid in the community. He has competed for the biggest fight promotion companies out there, including Titan FC, Bellator, and currently in the UFC. He used to be a wrestler in high school, and he attributes that to be a big reason for what he's doing today, that being aiming for the top of the UFC's welterweight division. Ever since starting his professional fighting career, he's been on a roll, being undefeated up until entering the UFC. His last few fights were in Titan FC, where he became the welterweight champion, securing his 9th consecutive win with a TKO against Steve Carl. After this, Muhammad signed with the UFC, and his career only further exploded. UFC beginnings. Most fighters who get signed into the Ultimate Fighting Championship are already the best of the best, being that the company has such a high standard. That's with some exceptions, of course, but Belal Muhammad is definitely at the top of the top. He debuted at UFC Fight Night 90 and defeated Alan Jabon. Now, Muhammad wasn't really prepared as he was a short notice replacement for the fight, and he lost his debut by a unanimous decision by the judges. Even so, having your debut loss isn't something to fret over, as that's how most UFC fighters get started, and the fact that it was on short notice didn't help out all that much. So even if we stop the info here, he wouldn't be written off. But of course, that's not all that happened at UFC Fight Night 90. Not only did he lose by a judge's decision, but he and Jobon both got awarded Fight of the Night, which is insane for a debut fight. Hearing this, you could already imagine that he didn't just fall easily. It was a true fight between two warriors doing their best. With this debut, Muhammad cemented his place for further fights in the UFC and slowly crawled his way into the top 5. After his loss, we proceeded to have a few big wins, starting with a TKO against Augusto Montano. He finished him with some ground and pound action in the 3rd round and was the first person to finish Montano. With that, he proved that he isn't just some fighter who would get his chance and then drop out, and the eyes were already turning in his direction. After this, he lost his next fight against Vicente Luque by getting knocked out in the 1st round. He is unrankable. The thing with Muhammad is that his persistence is overwhelming. It doesn't matter how many times he falls, he'll still come back and make people remember his name. Even before being a fighter, he was a fight fan, and he watches opponents' fights all the time, analyzing their fighting style and thinking up countermeasures even before being scheduled to fight. This makes for some crazy preparation once he actually gets an opponent, even though he isn't as lucky as to fight whoever he's scheduled to. Belal's also in a situation where he's incredibly hard to rank because of his weird luck with the matches he's put in. Starting off with 2 losses and 1 win certainly isn't the most impressive first impression on the UFC community, especially for people that haven't heard of him before that. It almost seemed as if he were a big fish in a small pond before the UFC, and that now that the pond is bigger, he wouldn't be able to handle it. This, of course, wasn't the case, and he dominated in his next 4 fights, winning by judge's decision in all 4. What's worth mentioning here is that even though all 4 of his fights weren't won by finish, 3 of these fights were on short notice or with changed opponents at the last moment. That's why even after these 4 wins, it was still hard to rank him appropriately. On one hand, he's beating people left and right, and and on short notice without prep time for that specific opponent. On the other hand, most of the opponents he's fought that have actually been chosen for him and didn't change at the last moment defeated him. So he's still in the gray area when it comes to measuring his actual skill and rank because he has this weird record and fights history. Even so, he still deserved the respect of being a top fighter even before entering the UFC, and this couldn't be ignored. After his 4 consecutive wins, he flipped the script yet again by losing his bout with Jeff Neal via unanimous decision from the judges. By that point, no one actually knew where Muhammad stood because of his insanely weird record, and remembering his name was a little bit off the question as the world had already viewed him as average. The rise to number 5. But then he decided that it was over. Whether he realized that he has to up his game a bit, or he simply got some better luck, Belal Muhammad did the unthinkable and won his next 6 matches. 5 of them he won with a unanimous decision, and won by finishing his opponent with a rear naked choke in the 3rd round. It's almost like he simply decided, no more uncertainty, and started blasting his way to the top, beating one guy after the other, as if he could do it all along. At the level of the UFC, a +6 win streak isn't something to gloss over, and people definitely noticed. Win by win, he got up the ranks of the welterweight division, reaching the top 5 and cementing his place as one of the fighters to keep an eye on. And just like that, despite his previous bad luck, he is now the 5th ranked fighter in the world at that weight class, and that's big. This isn't to say that his bad luck is completely out of the picture. Muhammad often gets his bouts canceled because of his opponents either being caught for doping or some other issues, injury, sickness, and so on. He even had one of his fights stopped because his opponent poked him in the eye unintentionally while performing a kick. If that isn't bad luck, I don't know what is. Remember the name. Reaching the top 5, Muhammad's name definitely will be remembered. He's one of the top fighters for a reason and is persistent no matter his insanely bad luck. He may confuse the fans and critics often with his inconsistency both in the octagon and outside of it, but you also have to look at the results and not just how you feel about the fighter. So the name will be remembered, and we're sure to be getting more great fights from him in the future, so definitely make sure to keep an eye out for this crazy fighter. And there you have it, fight fans. Belal, remember the name Muhammad, the crazy fighter with an even crazier record that's sure to keep surprising us in the future. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and make sure to comment down below on what you think Muhammad will do in the future. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well, so get those fingers moving. Also, if you want to see reviews and recaps on other fighters, make sure to subscribe to the channel in order to be notified when we release the one you're looking for. With that said, we'll be leaving you to your duties and taking our leave. So as always, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.